Hey, I'm Kay Helm, and you might have heard me say that if you have a course, you need a book. But today I'm going to tell you if you have a book, you need a course. Stay tuned, and I'll interview Dr. Lucas Marino and his new book on how to monetize your book with a course. Well, welcome to the Life and Mission podcast. My name is Kay Helm, and my guest today is Dr. Lucas Marino. Lucas, welcome to Life and Mission.
Thank you for having me, Kay. I'm pretty excited to be here. I was thrilled when you sent me the invite because I've been meaning to catch up, and it's always great to sit down and have a good conversation with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. We were laughing before we started recording. We're in a group of writers together, and we were talking one time, and we realized we live literally down the street from one another.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I think my brain may have skipped a few steps when I realized how close you were. And I think I saw your Facebook profile, and I was like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah,
that's right down the street."
exactly. So that whole small world, it's pretty cool. A lot of times I'll have a guest on and I'll tell them where I live, and they go, "Oh yeah, I've been there." They've been at Christmas, or they went to the amusement park, or they came to the historic center and all this stuff. So it's really cool, but then to actually meet a local,
Right.
that's pretty rare.
It is pretty rare, especially from, like you said, outside of the area. When you're interacting with people in your own little circle. I mean, I ran into it a bit in the military because there's a heavy military presence around here. But
Yeah, it is.
as soon as I left that space, it was almost like that just kind of stopped. So
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But Lucas, the reason I wanted to have you on the podcast was that, I one of the things that I do is I help people take their courses and turn them into books.
mm,
And that's kind of I guess at this point, the bread and butter of my ghostwriting business. And I love doing that. But you have written a book now that is like the flip side of that. So
yeah.
tell us about your new book.
So it's titled Monetize Your Book with a Course.
Hmm.
And all credit to my mentor and business partner, Honore Quarter, who uh, is a very patient and super intelligent person. And I sat down with her in Tennessee one day and said, "I'm having a problem coming up with a title for this book." And I told her I wanted to title it. You're gonna laugh. I haven't actually talked about this on a podcast yet, so this is this is a first, right? So I said I want to title it "Make Your Online Course Awesome," and she said, "No." What are you helping people do? I said, "Well, I'm helping nonfiction authors make money with their book by creating a course." And she said, "Well, then call it Monetize Your Book with a Course." And I went, "Okay, all right, you're brilliant." She's like, "I don't know why you're overthinking this." And I couldn't stop laughing. So
We do that.
that's, yeah, that's kind of how it came together. And I help a lot of nonfiction authors who are people that are like subject matter experts in some
Mhm.
field. Um, they, they know what they're doing. They're consultants, coaches. Um, they're serving other people. They're looking for a way to kind of monetize that outside of the time intensive one-on-one type services. So they write the book and they're
Mhm.
told the book is like the ultimate business card. And then
Yes.
they realize like I'm making $7.99 a book or up to $25 a book or whatever. And I want to use this book now to build my business. How can I do that? And one of the very natural relationships is a course, which, as you just said, you're seeing it from the other side, or people that have a course that
Yeah.
want to create the book so they can get that leverage with the book.
Yeah, it's really neat. I do think they're really the 1-2 punch. I mean, this is
Right.
you need, if you've got one, you need the other.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
go
I agree.
together, but they do different things. We talk about where a book sits in your sales funnel or in your customer acquisition process, whatever you want to call it. And it has a job to do there, and also a book is a great door opener. It gets you on platforms and things like that. But then there's kind of the question of, what do you do now that they're in my world? And the
Right.
course seems to me like a perfect answer for that. How do they work together?
Yeah, it really is. Um, One of the things I cover in the opening chapter or two of the book is a point of motivation and confidence because I feel like most of my clients who come to me, they've done all this great work for a book. And now they're like, I'm a little intimidated by the thought of creating a course. And my message to them is actually they go so well together and they're so complementary. You should be confident that you're building a course based on your experience with your book, because not only is the process of creating a book very similar to the process of creating a course, but since you're already an expert in the topic and you've already gone through this rigorous logical flow of information and making it into something digestible, and you understand your clients so well, and you've gone all through all these things that actually every course creator should do, but you've actually done it and created a product with it. You're like set up very well to create a course. And like you said, a course can either do something different than the book did for that person, or it can serve an audience in a different way. And it's additional value that they can offer their ideal learners or ideal clients. So they've got this really powerful capability sitting right in front of them. The processes are very similar. They've got the experience. They've already gone through the hard work of creating a book. So you know they can do a course. It's like, dude, every arrow is pointing in the right direction for you. So that's kind of why I opened the book with that point on motivation and confidence. And it jumps right into talking about how you just have to learn how to think a little bit differently when it comes to creating curriculum than maybe when you wrote a book. And I try to make it easy to do that. So it starts with like taking your outline, for example, right? Like
Mhm.
everyone's got, how do you write a book? And so
Yeah.
you and I write. So we're like, oh, this is easy. Let me tell you. We just start rattling it off.
Right.
But in every book is an outline,
Mhm.
and it didn't stay the same, most likely, throughout the
No,
process.
it
Right?
never
You may have
does.
outlined it one way when you started and it grew into this other thing. Your
Yep.
course is going to have the same experience, most likely.
Mhm.
That table of contents from your book
Yeah.
is a fantastic starting point for an outline for your course.
Yeah.
And I just tell them, take that, put it on a piece of paper. Now let's start looking at the way to think about building curriculum. And we go from there. And I have these 5 key points for building a course foundation that I make them go through before I let them develop a single bit of content.
That's so important to have that. And just to back up a little bit, Lucas knows what he's talking about here. So,
Thank
I
you.
mean, you have taught you've trained people in a variety of settings already, so you were already doing that. And
Right.
then you got into course building. So you've got what, how many, I mean, tell us a little bit about kind of your journey to where you are now so that we know you you're the
Sure.
real deal.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so it's kind of funny because I grew up kind of quiet, artistic kid. I wanted to be, if you had asked me what my dream job would have been, I'd have said, I want to either be a writer or a guitar player. And I did the guitar player thing for 2 years and then joined the military. So I was always a writer. And then when I retired from the service after 21 and a half or so years, I thought, well, what am I going to do with all this experience I gained in the military? And one
Yeah.
of the things that I did in the military was I was in training commands. So I was an instructor, then I was in program managing training. And then when I retired, I was the dean of the engineering and weapons school. They call them branch chiefs in the military here in Yorktown, Virginia. And so you go from being an instructor to running the whole enterprise, basically. And I didn't realize what I had learned in the military almost by just the nature of doing your job and the processes we use to develop training and curriculum and the approach to getting someone to do something that was never, ever given to them before they came into that world of work. So you get a very holistic view of training. Then when I retired, I said, well, I don't really know how I want to do the things. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, right?
Right, right.
So it's funny to say retire because I think I was like 40-ish
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
at that point. Um,
Retirement age just keeps getting further and further out, I think, for me.
Yeah, yeah, and so I thought, well, I wanna do training. I loved being an instructor. I taught and still do part-time at a university as an assistant professor at Old Dominion University,
Mhm.
and I thought, well, I'll just keep doing this stuff. I'll just keep training people, and, I took the fundamentals that you learn from what they call human performance technology, which is basically like instruction 101 in the military, like how to build curriculum. And there's a huge
Oh,
analytical process. And I said, how can you simplify this for like people in the civilian sector? It
yes.
doesn't need to be that crazy like it is in the military. We're not throwing grenades, right? Like
Right.
it's a little less risky. So but basically what I did was I figured I really want to work for myself.
Mhm.
I really want to teach all these things as an engineer that I've mastered over 20 something years. I'm going to stand up an online school. And I launched an online school and I thought, well, this would be fun to do with friends. So I invited some other consultant friends of mine to become instructors. And before we knew it, we had a company. And I was like, well, this is cool. And
Yeah.
every last one of them was like, can you teach me how to build the online courses? And I'm like, sure. We go through the process. And then all of a sudden they start making money with their courses. And they're like, this is great. And I'm like, I agree.
That is fun.
I become a Thinkific user, which is a learning management system. And
Mhm.
then I became a Thinkific partner. And then I became a Thinkific expert, having used their product for so many years.
Mm.
Um, and what I found was people started coming to me to help them build courses and build training businesses rather than people coming to me for training. They weren't coming to me to learn engineering stuff. They were like, hey, can you teach me how to build a course? And I'm like, sure. And we'd get done with that. And then the phone would ring again or the email would come in. It was just like flowing. I'm like, I need to pay attention to this.
Yes.
So it all kind of happened very organically. But what I didn't realize was that when I left the service, I had this skill set that I didn't put as much value on as I probably should have. And that's kind of how it all started. So I've been a Thinkific expert for a few years now, and I've been serving people as a course consultant, coach, creator for roughly 5 years since retirement. So it's been a good time.
That's great. I love it. That looks like people around you saw the thing in you that you didn't quite see because you were just kinda in it doing it,
Yeah.
and then they were like, "Hey, he's like an expert." There's a moment where you go, "Wait, I'm the expert." It's
Yeah. And it really was kind of interesting because I kept teaching this same thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, why don't people know this? Then I sat back and said, well, they never went through these years of experience and training like you have. Why would they know this? I'm like, duh. Like, I'm like over here wondering. That's when I guess the lens came on and I started to realize, like, put myself in my client's shoes and say, what kind of path have they been down? What do they bring to the project? What don't they bring to the project? And I realized they have all this great knowledge in their area of expertise, but they don't have the experience of having formal, like they're not master training specialists. They're not formal trainers. They just need help developing these products. The other side of it was they didn't understand the technical sides of building these platforms. What's a learning management system? Why do you need a CRM? Like, what is all this stuff? Do I need any of it? Do I need all of it? Like, so there was the other half of it was like, you have all the tech, you have all the experience and knowledge, like put it together to help people. And all of a sudden my business took off. So
I love it. Yeah,
yeah,
and the book that you've written, so I've read the book, Monetize Your Book with a course, right? That's the title. And so that it's just so practical. Like it's just open the book and start doing the things, you
that's,
know. But
I'm
you
glad it came across that way because that's the way I was envisioning it.
Yeah, I mean this is just it's not you don't hit people with a bunch of fluff around it and 50 million stories. There's enough stories to show you that it works and to inspire you, but not bog you down like it's not a 600-page magnum opus on something that's gonna be obsolete next week. That's the principles that make the thing work. If you just need to get this course up and going and be confident that you're building something with a solid foundation, this book will set you up to do that,
Oh, I
and I
appreciate
love
that.
that. I need to go
That
write
that
write
was,
a review that says
yeah, I really appreciate that because that was kind of the goal of the book. It's funny because I didn't want to be a hypocrite. And when I tell people how to build courses, I'm like, teach them only what they need to know, nothing more, nothing less, and make
Sure.
sure that you're providing more value than the sticker price. And those two statements always like land right on the forehead of my clients. And they go, well, how do I do that? And I say, well, if I'm going to write this book about this, I don't want to be a hypocrite and write this book about all these things. It's like I want them to be able to pick this thing up and
Yep.
put it to work in their business and immediately get results because that's what's going to move the needle for them. And if this doesn't serve the reader, just like the courses have to serve the learner,
Mhm.
then I'm actually writing a book for me and not for them. And that's, to me, that's not the way I wanted to write the book, right? I wanted to write the book for them. So I'm glad to hear that you had that experience with the book, that you saw that. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what you were just talking about, we have that tendency to overcomplicate things, and
Oh,
when
sure.
you're the expert and you've got all this knowledge in this world,
Mm.
then you wanna share all the things
Yeah.
because you got to where you are now because you know all the things and you've done all the things, but you did that over years,
Right.
and so then when we try to cram it all into one course, we just really overwhelm the person that we're trying to teach, and we're not teaching them at that
Absolutely.
point.
Yep. Yeah. There's actually a little bit of a logical decision type process that I put in place that I put it in the book, but I don't like call it out like, because I don't want people to try and circumvent.
Mhm.
I want them to like know how to do it the way I tell them to do it because they'll just naturally go down this path. But when you identify who your ideal learner is, you now
Yeah.
know who to focus on. Then when you identify their problem, you know what you need to resolve for them. Then when you identify your solution,
Mhm.
it has to be specific to that problem. The next thing is the outcome that they experience. What is the learner's perceived outcome if they can implement your solution to their problem? And there's a tremendous amount of value and power there. The outcome is actually where the value's at.
Yeah.
And then so you go, well, what does that have to do with developing the curriculum? You go, well, you have to go teach them everything they need to do to achieve the outcome. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like they're buying an outcome, the potential to reach an outcome. They're not buying your course. They're
Mhm.
buying that opportunity. And they're like, it makes like, it kind of makes everything click. You go, oh, okay. So I'm not giving them a course on like, so like for me, I'm a systems engineer. If I sell courses on systems engineering, it wouldn't make any difference for me to sell a course on everything in systems engineering.
Yeah.
You would take a course specific on a certain element of systems engineering, would teach just that.
Mhm.
And if you wanted to learn more, you go take a different course. It's like, this is
Yep.
why your university or your college or your high school education is set up the way it is. So anyways, I felt the same way about like teaching course creators to approach their content. Just because you know everything doesn't mean you have to teach everything. And the worst thing you can do is overwhelm the learner with
Mhm.
complexity and actually make it harder for them to achieve results because they'll leave dissatisfied. They won't refer your course to people
Yep.
and they'll never achieve the outcome that you set to give them. And that would be obviously not a good thing. So,
Mhm. And the people that are gonna give you the best testimonial, which if you know if you've written a book and you know if you create a course, we live and die on reviews and testimonials, and those are the things that help sell it to the next person,
that's right.
basically. And, people have to get outcomes in order to do that. They have to see that they can do it, and then they have to be able to do it, and then they have to say, "I did it," you know?
Absolutely. And
And
everything I put in the book, I teach my clients. Like this is what I coach my clients through. I give everything that's in that book is exactly what I do with my clients. I didn't like change it to protect my eye, like my process with
yeah.
my own work. Um, it's kind of funny because people will pay thousands and thousands of dollars to have that kind of assistance. And I'm like, dude, I put it in an $8 book for you. It's
Yeah.
but a lot of times it's, they want coaching, they need some consulting, unique context infused into their project, that kind of thing. But that's how much like I tried to build the book around the reality of the situation. Like you could literally pick that book up and get to a
Mhm.
finished product, at least,
Very good.
one that you could put a price tag on and sell to people and feel good about.
Yeah, you could. If you already and you've already done a lot of the homework that you need to do for a course. You've done it if you've written a book,
That's right.
and especially if you've marketed the book well,
That's right.
then you have done it. You've got your ideal customer stuff, you know their pain points, you know all of that, and you
Yeah.
know how to communicate that to them. So you just transfer that over, and now you're teaching in different formats. One of the things I wanted to ask you was that, when we think about an online course, I know a lot of us have one picture of what that looks like, but it doesn't have to be just that one picture. What are some different creative things you've seen in course creation?
So you have your three basic models of delivery, which would be like live, virtual, or in person. It's,
Mhm.
it's live. You're teaching it over video or you're teaching it face to face. but for the sake of like online, we'll just say the virtual version, right? And then
Mhm.
you have hybrid, which is some live, some recorded content, and then you have a fully recorded course, which is uh, often referred to as like a self-paced or on-demand type course. And there's a lot of flexibility in that for the learner, and there's also a lot of flexibility in that for the course host. So those are like your three main formats, but you can have a drastically different experience in each of those formats depending on how the person built the course. So you'll see, like, for example, video content, right? For example, you could have video where it's just like this, where you and I are speaking face to face in a live session. But if this was recorded, they'd still be able to see this live talking heads type video.
Yep.
Um, that's way different than like animation, right? So some of my clients, we build completely animated 25-minute videos for them where their face is never seen, but they're reading a script
Mhm.
and the whole thing is animated to be a pace, change of pace in the course, or to make it a little bit more visually appealing or stimulating, or to demonstrate something visually that we couldn't do face to face, right? So there's ways you can integrate different types of technology or different approaches into the course to kind of spice it up. I like digital workbooks
Mhm.
rather than like downloadable PDFs.
Mhm.
Not that there's anything wrong with a downloadable PDF, especially a fillable downloadable PDF, but
Right, yeah.
isn't it cool to just not have to download and fill out things? You can just type it right into the computer.
Yes.
So that's one way you can do it. Audiobooks are a huge hit, but for
Mhm.
some reason, people don't consider audio courses as an option when they go to create a course. They're like, oh, I'm going to create a course. They automatically think of video.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, audio courses are very popular and powerful,
Yes.
right? So if you have a book and you have a popular audio book, you could create an audio course which has a lot of downloadable or printable content accompanied by audio files that take them through the whole deal. And some people love that because they can just listen and work versus have to watch and listen. Because while I'm watching and listening, I'm not writing, right? It's like,
That's me. That's my preferred way to learn right there.
yeah, I mean, it's really powerful. And so if you already go through the process of creating the video, you have the audio. And I'm like, you have this tremendously valuable file sitting there and you get to kind of play with it a little bit. So hopefully that answered your question because like you've got so many different ways to be creative with it. You can have fun with it.
Oh, yeah, and there's so many different ways you can deliver the course. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's a big old playground out there, but, what it comes down to, I think what I keep hearing you say is serve your customers.
Yeah.
Serve the
Whatever's
people you're
best for
trying
them.
to help solve their problem. You find what works for them. That's
Absolutely.
ultimately so it's not like, "Well, help me find the best learning system. Help me find the best
Right.
platform. What should" we get caught up on all these little, "Well, what pieces of software should I use, and
Hmm.
how long should the videos be," and all that. What will serve your people and get them to the outcome that they want? That's ultimately the thing. It's like, well, yeah, I'm working with somebody right now who's creating a course, and the it's kind of flipped, so it's, but I have this many videos and they're this long and it's this many hours of training, and then I'm talking to potential customers for this course, and they're going, "I don't have a lot of time, and I just need something that I can do in 15 minutes a day," and it's like, "Y'all need to talk."
Yep.
So
No, it's absolutely true. I mean, there's almost no losing when you can make a video under 20 minutes,
yeah,
right? That's kind of like my line in the sand because people have to drive somewhere, they have to eat lunch, they have to do these things. And sometimes that's when they're listening to your content.
yeah,
Yeah. I think in our minds, sometimes we're like, oh, I'm going to create a course. And you picture this person's experience. They're like sitting at a desk with a notebook, listening to you attentively. The reality is like half the time they're like eating a sandwich,
yes,
watching you on their smartphone, right? Like,
yeah,
or they're on their way home and they're listening to the lesson. I did an entire project management professional course in audio files, just listening
nice,
when I got my PMP certification because my commute was an hour a day. And
yeah.
that's when I had time to study,
Mhm. Was it
right?
who's somebody had a phrase for that, something like University of the Interstate or something like or some kind of road learning audio thing. It was pretty cool. I'll have to look that up.
the fact that you bring that up is, I mean, it's immensely important. It's tremendously important because if you really want to create a course that's successful, the way people usually, kind of define that success is people enjoy the course, they consume it, they share it with other people.
Mhm.
The financial benefits of that is a byproduct of that experience.
Yep.
Without that experience, there's no successful financial byproduct, right? So the course sells and people enjoy it, it sells more. You want to focus on that person's experience to make that happen.
Mm.
Only then can it serve your business, right? So oftentimes people go, I'm creating a course because I wrote a book and now I want to improve my business's finances by selling courses. Okay, well, that's a byproduct of them enjoying your course and it being a
Right.
successful course. You have to focus on the curriculum serves the learner, the delivery serves the learner, everything is about them. And in the book, I actually say, hey, look, congratulations. From now on, everything you do is for that person. Everything in the course creation process is for that person. It's not about you.
Yep.
And when you get that done, it will serve them better. It will serve your business better. You'll be better served by it and it'll be a win. Right. And if you can't make that happen, obviously, it's either a fault of development and design or some type of execution problem, but it should never be the course's problem. It's just a product. That's all
Yeah.
it is.
There you go.
Yeah. Your course can't buy itself,
Yeah.
right? Like, so I've seen people spend, I mean, astronomical amounts of money on professional filming and everything, and then they're like, "Okay, I'm not moving a needle on sales." And I'm like, "Well, the only reason you're feeling that pressure is you sunk $50,000 into developing this one thing, and now you feel pressure to sell it, and you didn't go through all the steps to make sure it was developed properly for the right people, and now you're having a hard time selling it because they don't. People really don't care how much you spent on it."
No, they don't.
And it can't buy itself. So you're stuck trying to sell something to people that you didn't do the right research and develop it for the right person.
I mean, you don't it's not like you would never pick up a book and recommend it to a friend to read and go, "Look at this book. See this book? It has a cover and it has words." Those are features, right? So you don't sell features, you sell the benefit. What do I get from reading the book? What is the change that's gonna happen in me because I consumed those words, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
if you think
And it
about it that
doesn't matter in the case of a book if it's, because like in the course, for example, it's usually designed to help someone close a performance gap, learn some knowledge to gain some new capability, something that you can kind of quasi define as tangible
right,
when the outcome is achieved. But yeah, books can be a little bit more forgiving in that area, but they can be absolutely no less like expensive to develop. Like,
right.
I think I actually invested more in writing my book financially than I did on any course I've ever created.
Yeah, I think courses are more forgiving, I think, than a book is.
Yeah, I would say the same. People are a
Yeah.
little less critical of them, I would say as well. Like that's part of that forgiving.
Mhm.
I was just reading a fiction book from a best-selling author, and I found two typos in it, and I was like making notes in my Kindle. I'm like, all right, I need to find a way to get this note to them. Like as author to author, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if this was my book and this was out there, I'd be like, oh, I'd want to know about this.
Yes.
But I've never had that experience with a course.
It's like you feel bad, when you see it in a book, and I remember in my master's program, there was a book it was just full of typos. That book, and on the one hand, it frustrated me, and I was like, "How did this even get to this point?" But I mean, the stuff I learned from it was really great. It was actually one of my favorite books content-wise,
Wow.
but it coulda used a good proofreader, you know? But, it's like you skipped a step, you know? And so
Yeah.
books, you have to do all those steps, but I think with the courses, even though a lot of us get a little uptight about being on video and all the stuff, it is so forgiving. We
Mhm.
consume so much video. We're just exposed to so much
Yeah.
of different varying quality, levels of quality in video and all types of media these days that people are just like, I need the stuff I need, and I need it when I need it, and I need it how I need it. And if you can deliver that, I'm gonna forgive typos. I'm gonna forgive, that now the like, if you don't have good sound, I would say is probably the thing that people are gonna turn you off faster than anything.
Absolutely.
But the other stuff, I put up transcripts in my course. When I teach something, there's a transcript there, but do I go through and make that transcript perfect? No. I will serve you, my student, I will serve you much better doing something else that will help you learn than perfecting the transcript. And
Right.
right now it's just a decision that I've had to make where that's one of the things I'm just not doing. So,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's always an opportunity for, I'm a big nerd for continuous improvement. It's
mhm.
something you can
Yeah, you
do
can
in the
go
next
back later
iteration. Yep.
and do it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
100% agree.
yeah,
Audio's
and,
king.
get and so just kind of put the thing together, see how it works, get some people through it with an outcome, maybe your beta group or whatever, and, then go make your fancy videos,
Right. Yeah. I
you
mean, I
know?
have a client right now who has been literally studying and teaching this one topic for 30 years as an
Mhm.
academic.
Wow, yeah.
He's perfected this approach to something that most people could use. And he's going to put it in a course. The hardest part of that project was getting the videos recorded
Mhm.
because mm, that was a big technological hurdle for him.
Yeah.
And I just had to kind of coach him through that process. But I think there was like a point where he realized, oh, I don't need a perfect video. The audio has to be great. The
Mhm.
video has to be good enough. And um, I'm going to be able to deliver this in a way that is very effective. And I don't have to be as critical of myself or this project as I'm being. And I think at that point, his progress took off because a lot of his hesitation to release that video was based off of some self imposed expectations that weren't realistic. I'm like, dude, no one's going to see that or think about that or care
Yeah.
about that. That's all you, man. So I think, like you said, having a beta group is a fantastic way to verify that before you release it to the world. Actually became such a point of discussion after the book. And when I work with clients, that I created a mini course just on that topic of doing pre sales because
Oh, nice.
people are so hesitant to invest the time and
Mhm.
money in developing the curriculum fully before they know that the market's actually going to want to buy the course.
Mhm.
So they're like torn on like whether they should build. And I'm like, no, dude, you should definitely build. There's a course for everyone. If you're already have clients that you're serving as a consultant or a coach, there's an audience, right? That's kind of
That's
the
right. Yep.
general rule of thumb. And then if you want to test that and get paid to develop your course, do the pre-sale, what I call a pre-development launch in the book. I like the term pre-sale, but it doesn't really tell you what you're really doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, you're selling it before you develop it.
Yes.
Right? So, anyways, that's a really good way to address that risk in your world. If you're a little hesitant to build a course because you're not sure anyone's actually going to want to buy it, and you need a little bit of time to kind of work through some of the details, you can do it
Mhm.
that way.
It's a great way to do it. That's the way I've built my course, the Mission Writers course. I've had a group that I've been teaching now for a year, and I have
Wow,
learned so much from them,
wow,
just as to what actually needs to go in the course. So I'm working on the self-paced thing now, but as soon as I get the second module done, that's when it goes for sale.
I love it.
So
And
that's soon.
you produce a lot of your own
Mhm.
worry,
Yeah.
anxiety, risk, all the things when you can approach it that way. It's a very healthy way to do it. You don't feel the stress and this and the. I mean, like I said, I've had people spend months and tons of money to develop a course, then they feel immediately almost guilty and responsible for making sales, and then they're actually having good success, and they don't feel that. They don't see it because it's not enough yet. And I'm like, dude, give yourself a little bit of grace. Like, you c- you're gonna need some time to make up for that investment you made.
Mhm.
But man, is the ROI so much faster than say the book, right? So like
Yeah.
I spent more money on the book and more time on the book than the course, but the course, like the ROI is 10 times faster almost
Yeah.
every time for me.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
pretty amazing. And then but I mean they are, go back to what we said in the very beginning that they work so well together.
Absolutely.
And just, I mean, really cool thing. So there will be a book. So I'm doing a course first and then the book. And when the book comes out, once that's out, then people that buy the course, I would love to just send them a nice little box, a little branded box with some sort of little the book and maybe some other things that go with it. I mean, it's just, some sticker. I just got a sticker for, something I just
Yeah.
did with somebody else online. It, it's so cool. It just makes you feel great about it. Reminds you to go do the materials. All kinds of things you can do that are fun, that are not going to break the bank, that just serve your people.
Hmm.
That's what it comes down to. And,
It is absolutely the key.
that's it. Well, Lucas, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention that we did not get to?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to come on. And I hope anyone listening to this knows that whether it's writing the book or creating the course, you absolutely can do this. Like
Yes.
you can do this. You've never lived, like you're literally living in the best time ever to do this. You've got all the tools you could need. And the fact that you have this great brain sitting on top of your, in your head, on top of your shoulders, that is just full of so much that can help other people. I would encourage you to think about either developing the book or the course if you haven't developed one or the other yet, and getting it out there and just do it and test it and have fun with it and make it something that you are excited to wake up and share with people. And then you'll never regret it. You'll always enjoy what you've done.
Yeah, that's great. How can people get a hold of you?
I'm pretty easy to find because I'm all over the place,
Yep.
which is a little crazy. My website is www.marinotraining.com. You can get me on email at lucas@marinotraining.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the places. And I love to meet new people and help them just kind of work through their hesitations to do any of this stuff. So yeah, reach out and let's get to know each other a little bit. I'm very relationship based. So don't be surprised if I actually want to get to know you.
That's awesome. So reach out, connect with Lucas. The book is Monetize Your Book with the course.
Yeah.
And that is your next step. If you have a book that you need to turn into a course, or if you even just maybe thinking someday, possibly in the future, just go ahead and grab that and you'll see just how step by step and simple it can be. And let Lucas send you point you in the right direction, and that'll be awesome. So that's it for Life and Mission podcast for this week. Find your voice, tell your story, change the world.